All right, I think I got it almost, but for some reason, Sly is.
Oh no, Sly, you're a ghost.
I don't know what happened.
Ghost?
Yeah,
No, you're not your fault. It's nothing you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know how it's why it's like that. Hold on. I think I need to put it. There we go.
Okay.
You had it under the transparent like scene. Yeah. I had a feeling.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the very first segment here. We're off to a very great start. We're bringing on two wonderful guests to talk about the state of Final Fantasy XIV. None other than the people who host State of the Realm. We have Mr. Happy and Sly, aka Greyfox. I would like you guys to do your own introductions, though, if you don't mind. So, Mr. Happy, could you tell everybody who you are?
Hi, I'm Mr. Happy.
Mother.
Sly, how about you? No, I'm one of the hosts of State of the Realm. When we do that, because we haven't done one in 2 weeks. So thank you for hosting State of the Realm this week, Frost.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's, whatever I can do to help out, that's what I'm here for. And hopefully this will work out okay. I noticed this is the first time I've used this layout, so some things I'm going to try to adjust a little bit on the fly, but I think it's just working out okay. I love your hair, by the way, Mike. It is working out great with your headset.
This is wave 2 of quarantine hair. That's what it is.
Okay.
Hey, I've got a Butterfingers hat I can wear if I really need to.
You don't. I like this way more. I like the way you are right now. So let's keep it that way. All right, Sly, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sly. I do Stay in the Realm with this fool right here. I'm just here.
You're just here.
Hi.
I feel like you both are completely underselling who you are. So Mr. Happy is an amazing person who makes lots of videos that you probably have seen at some point in your life. And has been a part of the community for longer than I've been around, and has been a great friend that entire time that I have been around the community. Sly, the same. He's been around in the community forever, and has been one of the most chill dudes I've ever met in my entire life. And they both have come and helped with a lot of episodes of MogTalk. So thank you guys for coming on and helping with this segment of our 200th episode.
I forgot what this camera
for
angle.
Us.
I have a nameplate.
Oh, you do have a nameplate.
Somebody pointed out in the chat. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. With this camera angle, that's what I have.
It's perfect. So if they need to find you, they know exactly where to go because that's where you are everywhere.
That's what I say at the end of every episode of State of the Realm, by the way, because I'm too lazy to do a real outro. Just like I was too lazy to do a real intro.
Your intros are really good. I don't know. Anyways, let's get into the state of things. The state of Final Fantasy XIV. The reason why I had this segment, I figured it was a good segment to start out with because we want to talk about Final Fantasy XIV. It's gone through a lot of different, a very interesting, I guess, last 6 months while I was away. We've had a pretty big lull in content, understandably, of course, but that makes you kind of start to wonder about how things are going with Final Fantasy XIV. Because we are nearing the midpoint or at the midpoint, I guess, of the third or fourth expansion of Final Fantasy XIV.
No, third. Don't even treat A Realm Reborn like it's one of them, please. I can't stomach the thought.
It's true. I don't think we'll ever be back to no matter how
blatant disrespect. What the hell?
Listen, Sly. If I go back and post, oh my God, this is me 10 years ago. It's a picture of me getting my 1.0 collector's edition, and I hate it. All right, I don't want to relive that moment. Okay.
Well, I never got to experience it myself, so I just hear the horror stories, and I will never be able to experience it because Yoshi has said there's no way he will ever bring it back in any shape or form. So, anyways, we'll go third expansion. How's the game holding up? Is it doing pretty well, even with the lull? Are people still happy to play, enjoyable? What's the state of Final Fantasy XIV?
Sly. I was like, we both are trying to be courteous to each other, and we're like, all right, not our show. We don't know how to do this.
Wow.
Yeah. I really think 14 is in a good place with current players and new players. Like, I really feel like it's one of those times where it's like 14 is always welcoming, but I feel like more so now than ever that it's more welcoming, maybe because of the lull, maybe because of the current state of things in the world. But with the expansion, with this pass patch, which is probably one of the best patches we've ever had, where people are excited for non-raid content. Go figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the state of Final Fantasy 14, like it's in a really good place. I don't think we've been here before. I don't think we've ever been to this point before at all. Like nowhere in Heaven's Ward, nowhere in Shadow and Stormblood.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the initial like excitement over ARR was one thing, but I couldn't experience that because I never played 1.0. So I really feel like this is one of the best times to be a player in Final Fantasy 14, new or old.
Yeah, and I think the expansion, of course, Shadowbringers being such highly regarded is a wonderful time. If they're going to have to lull on one expansion, at least they're lulling on like the best expansion, at least in my opinion, so far of Final Fantasy 14. Would you guys consider it the best expansion so far in the game?
I would agree with that.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic, and I'm still going to say yes.
Okay.
But, man, can I have a lot to say about that?
Well, I mean, going into A Realm Reborn, of course, the jump was much bigger, of course.
A Realm Reborn had 2 months of a boss that didn't work. Just remember that. It's not as exciting as people think it was.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Okay, so since we'll imagine 1.0 is somewhere else right now, since 2.0 happened, Final Fantasy 14 has evolved a good bit, I would say. There's been a lot of different things like, I guess, like quality of life that has been done in the game. And I remember at the time when things were happening, like, for example, recently they removed tank stance. There's all these little bits of like, oh man, they're making the game too easy, too boring, and everything else. Do you feel like these evolutions, they're making these choices that some people were a little bit hesitant on, have been proven to be good choices over the years?
Oh man. This is one of those where no one's ever going to be happy with what anyone else has to say about it. Because I'm of the opinion that I don't like deliberately hindering the player for sake of the experience. I had enough of that with Final Fantasy XI, where the game was very much about the slow grind and kind of the more social aspects. And by forcing you to play slower, by forcing you to spend longer on things, it was the hope that you would interact with other people. Mm-hmm. We have so many ways of doing that nowadays that when I look at 14's quality of life, I find myself more often talking with people about the quality of life and the excitement about quality of life and what other quality of life we could get. So Shadowbringers has been the quality of life expansion tenfold, which has been great for getting things done and not so great for playing for months and months and months because you're getting through it all a little quicker. Mm-hmm. So it's, pick your poison on that one, I suppose.
Right.
Whereas in the past, I feel like we took quality of life for granted a lot more. But then now that we have all this free time, we kind of latch on to any quality of life we get, no matter what content we're talking about. Like anything quality of life that makes the experience better, faster, is good. And we accept it.
I mean, recently they, did the big change, and I haven't experienced it at all myself with leveling, right?
You mean the Realm Reborn, the revamp?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can tell you about that.
Please, I would love to know a little bit because that's a major thing with the state of the game. Kind of going through those early levels, I couldn't get most of my friends through a lot of that content because of how rough it was to go through all of it. Have they actually improved it to the point if a new player comes in, they're going to be like, wow, this is actually flows pretty well?
Well, Frosty, in May, I replayed through A Realm Reborn before they updated it, and it took 63 hours and 14 minutes.
Okay.
That's deliberately slowing myself down. I refused to teleport for most of it, so I walked or choco-keeped most of the way until after level 50. I had to do a bunch of side content to stay ahead, and that's about how long it took with watching every cutscene.
Oh,
that's with every cutscene.
Yeah.
Well, without any cutscenes, it's going to be a lot shorter.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because if you're a new player coming into the game, you're going to watch okay.
Yeah,
we assume they're going to watch the cutscenes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big if. And then after, with watching all the cutscenes, it took me 47 hours, and I can't remember how many minutes. That's still, again, with watching all the cutscenes to do all of A Realm Reborn, Crystal Tower, and just finish the MSQ without unlocking any side features.
Okay.
So it's like 25, 30% off the top or something?
I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And that's like playing really through a single-player game now instead of doing like a very long RPG that you thought was over but just keeps going.
Which it does into Heaven's Ward.
Yeah.
So remember, that's only a Realm Reborn, and it's still got Heaven's Ward and Stormblood after that. But it's still substantial because Heaven's Ward and Stormblood, especially if they have been paying attention to the story, are infinitely better. Let me one of the best example of what changed. My favorite quest to point to in 2.3. There's a quest where you have to go through the Sylphlins and find like the real Scions. You have to like throw like bombs at them and smoke them out and find the fake ones versus the real ones. Now you literally go to the entrance and you just fly to the end and you're done. You don't have, there's no anything in between. It's like 30 minutes of just garbage cut out right there.
I guess I would have a question. Does it feel like that makes the quest a little bit more lifeless, or does it feel like it doesn't really matter?
It was so lifeless before, man. Okay. The only good thing that came out of that quest was a dialogue option where they're like, if that's the fake tanker, then I think we found a good replacement for the real one. That's about the only fun quip that we lost out of that.
Okay. So, I mean, experiencing it, you would say most of the stuff that was completely non-relevant to the story and the world and everything else, that was what was cut out. It wasn't anything that was really vital.
Yeah, no, all the cutscenes, everything of that is still intact. It was so much more, like so much better to play through. Okay. I couldn't believe how much better it was.
Okay. Sly, I'm guessing you haven't gone back and tried it yet.
Hell no.
I don't blame you, sir.
Hell no.
Yeah, I actually would recommend it. I would recommend replaying it.
Even without all the tedium, I haven't even done like New Game Plus or anything, but I wouldn't go.
Well, New Game Plus isn't even available for Realm Reborn yet, so you're good on that front. Yeah. But I would highly recommend it. It's really neat if you finished 5.3 to go back and catch all the little details like that were kind of strewn about years and years before. That was the most fun out of going back.
That's fair. I have to say, when I was first going through it, a lot of stuff went over my head, and I completely forgot it existed at all. And of course, that was 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I did most of it, and it's been I've done everything I could to avoid completely re-leveling and watching the cutscenes. I don't think I ever went through another playthrough and watched all the cutscenes again since my first one, and since they made it to where you could buy your levels and do a jump potion, I haven't even experienced the zones in such a long time, because I'd rather spend that money, that what is it, $15, $20, $25 bucks, instead of spending 40 hours leveling again. So
that character's done. I'm never touching that character again. They've served their purpose. But no, it was a lot of fun replaying through. Flying, being there was a big deal, dude. There's teleport tickets to the Waking Sands now.
That's huge.
You literally just click an item and it just sends you to the Waking Sands.
I remember running through that little area between what was the town again? I can't remember what the town's called. It goes up to the Waking Sands.
Horizon?
Yes. A nice little run and
see people did the Limsa boat?
No, I took it maybe twice. I always forgot it existed.
Yeah, too many load screens.
Yeah. Okay, well, other than the story, there has been some major things over the evolution of Final Fantasy XIV that brings us to the state we are right now. One of the big things is how they do raid content. We all remember A Realm Reborn just having Savage, and that was it. And they decided to do a normal and Savage, and I remember lots of people being against it and hating it because they were rewarding players with story when they didn't think they earned it. Do you feel like the sentiment has changed over the last 4 years or so?
Are we really gonna shoot this dead horse?
Yeah. It's been resurrected.
When was the last MogTalk? We don't even remember. We have to.
It's true. It's been quite a while. I mean, I haven't heard any major complaints, and that's the reason why I'm saying it right now. Is it seems like we've gone to this acceptance of how the state is of things with it, and no one really cares anymore.
I feel like it took acclimation. It took a while to get acclimated. It took a while for people to wholeheartedly accept it. But at the same time, like, my stance then is still my stance now. If people didn't want to raid, they're not going to raid. Sure. Like, if you smack normal on it, or Savage, or whatever you want to, whatever nomenclature you want to give it, if people don't want to raid, they're not going to raid. So to me, it was a non-issue, I guess.
The conversation has kind of shifted from what I've seen. Now no one even cares to talk about this. Like, yeah, they've acclimated. They're done.
Yeah.
Now it's the question of the hardcore raiders really wanting a permanent 2-week break for every patch, meaning like Savage and Normal are separated by like a period of time.
Yeah.
That has become more the conversation, which is really interesting because you'd think that the hardcore raiders would just want to go, but the decision making between like doing the new main scenario quest and doing the new trial and maybe checking out the new feature A or new feature B seems to have kind of spread more. People also just like the extra scheduling time, maybe analyzing the normal mode fights, getting some stuff ready for gear, foods, pots, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So I've seen that discussion go back and forth more than the discussion about whether or not story is deserved. And not everyone's agreed on it, but it's just the conversation I see more.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely 100% correct, is that everybody would probably appreciate that 2-week span because there's reason to enjoy the story in Final Fantasy XIV and absorb all the content that comes out every single patch. And the world race, and not just the world race, but people who are inspired to clear content as fast as they can are pretty much forced to skip over a lot of stuff because they have to get into that content so quickly. And so I would absolutely say that would be a welcome change for everyone. Well, I mean, there is the downside that some people will say it's too easy or not, or it nerfs the difficulty of a world race if you put a normal mode in that you can hit on for 2 weeks before you get into Savage. But I don't think it's something
we do it every expansion. Who cares? Yeah. We do it once per expansion already, so it's like,
yeah, that's true. That's true. And they are making changes to where there is that little bit of extra time. Like, for example, you weren't worried if the FBI was watching you when you were doing E8 Savage until you got to the end point of it. So it's a little bit different.
Had to go there, huh?
I guess
I had to bring the FBI into it, huh?
Had to bring it in. It was a good clip. It was a good clip. Twitch thought it was a good clip as well.
It was a great clip. 10 out of 10 clip choice. Meanwhile, Arthur's gets 2 seconds of.
One of the most animated people on Twitch. Yeah, the 2 seconds of staring at the screen.
One of the best people you could have gotten a clip for, and that's all he got. I'll never forget it.
It's okay. I mean, a lot of people who do that, you can't expect them to be like people who understand every streamer and exactly what they're known for and everything. At least officially at Twitch and what they're doing. But yeah, hopefully if someone is listening from Twitch, that's the person you might want to grab a clip from next time and just see if you can get a reaction.
They grab the clip, just a better one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things. I mean, what are some things that come to mind for you guys when we're considering Final Fantasy and the state of things now and what has changed to make it into either a better or maybe even a worse game? Has there ever been anything that makes the game worse and you're like, I can't believe they made this change?
Yes.
Okay.
The desynthesis change. You've ruined it. You've ruined it for me.
Oh my god.
I was rolling in money, rolling in it, and you've ruined it. Okay, you've ruined it.
Are we talking to Square Enix?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
No, you, Frosty.
I was like, I didn't do anything. I've never desynthesized anything in my entire lifehood in this game.
And see, now you can. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
No, because he's still not going to do it. That's the problem.
It's true. I'm not going to do it still.
They did it, and it just ruined my market enough.
Dude, I'm running with 6 mil in the game right now. I barely survive from patch to patch.
I need to get back to 200 mil, and they're making it way harder than it needs to be.
Okay, so
Do
decent.
maps.
Is it do maps?
Don't talk to me about maps. I did too many maps, and they all sucked. Don't talk to me about maps.
Hey, you haven't gotten a sea cloth? No sea cloth?
Bro, I barely got past the first floor for like 4 hours straight.
Hey, look, somebody has to be unlucky. All right, somebody.
The whole party. Everyone didn't get past the first floor.
But in the other parties they were in, were they unlucky?
Try a day of not getting a portal at all on your map.
Oh, I don't have to try. You forget I have all the titles except for like one from maps. I've done my circuits.
Okay. Sly, anything negative you can think of besides Happy's opinion on desynthesizing? It's hard to think
Actually
of,
put me on the
right?
spot. When you put me on the spot, it's really hard to think of.
Yeah.
It's easy when we plan this shit.
I didn't put it in the notes. That's true. I didn't put in the worst in there, but I would say.
Oh, we have notes, right?
Yeah, you do have notes. Yeah, you have to look at
Yeah,
it.
we have notes. Something we're not used to. Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of hard to think of anything in a negative light, like on the spot. I mean, it's, for the most part, as of recent, it's been mostly positive, but in past iterations, I guess, and from like Shadowbringers or Heaven's Ward. God,
I'm not going to make
name
you.
things.
I'm not going to make
help,
it.
Maybe.
You can throw him some pitches. You want to throw him a pitch?
I mean, you don't care about less dungeons? That's one that some people would say. The near rates as a whole. That's another one that I don't know.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I found one for him. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, I found one here.
That's the only.
Okay.
Thank you. That's the one.
Gaia?
That's the one we constantly.
Gaia.
Some people don't like her. Some people don't like her.
I mean, she is snooty, but go ahead. Sorry.
Characters is one thing, but well, like in terms of like near God, we bring it up constantly that I just completely forgot about it. Yeah, just the dungeons, like the 24-man dungeons themselves, decent, good, like good first runs, good for a second run maybe. In terms of like actually, throwing in story and world building, I said before the shit was coming out, I'm like, I don't know how they're gonna, make everything cohesive, everything work. Shit's gonna fall through the cracks, and it did. And with every patch, especially this patch, like we're left wondering, well, is that it? Especially this patch. Is that it? That was it?
Well, people are expecting a lot of Yoko, so I mean, like that's the thing. Like you're anticipating all these things.
We're hoping and praying for something like the Yoko Taro at the end, because he always has something up his sleeve. We're hoping for that, and it's kind of hard to hope for that with the past two being as meh as they were.
Well, I mean, he did say he was going to go down in flames, didn't he? Like sometime around.
Yeah, he was gonna break all the servers. He was gonna delete the servers and everything. Yeah.
Okay.
It was funny when the Final Fantasy 14 Twitter tweeted, well, it looks like he hasn't deleted the servers yet, and everyone's like, what?
Yeah, no one really understood the reference at first. Yeah, that was pretty good. Sly, what were you saying? Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're fine. I was just saying, when it comes to like crossovers like these, like hell, and I even said, hey, do SMT. Now that I'm thinking about it, no, don't bring any outside sources anymore. Please no. Please no. Just
you afraid they're going to ruin it? Okay, all right. No, it's okay to say. Yeah, it's all right.
Sometimes words are as good as words.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's world build from within. Like we've created so much with Crystal Tower and the Evil East, and then to have this.
I mean, we did in Heaven's Ward. We're following around a demon ship, right? And so that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked that one a decent amount, but that was just me personally. I don't know how you guys felt about it.
I like the Shadows of Mach.
Yeah.
Which I believe is what you're referring to.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, though, I mean, it's a good idea to do crossovers in some way or fashion, and 24 Mana Raids does give a very nice platform for it, but it's difficult when people who aren't developers, I would assume, if for Final Fantasy 14 come in to make content for Final Fantasy 14 or help lead content for Final Fantasy 14. But I mean, I don't know how that whole dynamic works. I didn't mind the Nier stuff too much, but I haven't beat Nier completely yet, so it's hard for me to have a huge opinion. I have talked to Mr. Klimps, who is a very big Nier fan, and he has told me he was hoping for something a little bit more spectacular, though.
We all were.
All I guess I got the final act.
Yeah. But I mean, besides that, there's not, honestly, it took a little bit to find that negative, right, Sly? I mean, Final Fantasy 14 has evolved into something that I think, while some of the decisions have been like, I don't know, and I have my own opinions about PvP, of course, But I mean, overall, the game has evolved into something that's actually really, really solid for this expansion. And I have no clue what they're going to start evolving into next, unless if you guys have some insider information I don't.
Bastia.
What? Bastia?
Bastia Citadel. Yep.
I don't even know what that is.
The new relic content. So kind of like what?
Okay. I've been gone so long that didn't ring any bells to me at all, and that's the thing that everyone's hyped up for. I know the word relic, I just don't know what the name is for it, and that makes me look like a horrible host. I'm so sorry, but it is what people are looking forward to. But do we know if it's going to be Eureka, or is it going like the end of Eureka, or is it going?
We know a lot. No, it has nothing to do with Eureka itself.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with Eureka.
Okay. Is it going to be the thing that keeps people playing for another 3 months or another 2 months until raids are out again?
Do you want a relic?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess.
How many do you want?
I mean, how many do you want? Okay, do you want a relic? Do you want to, level any classes that you don't have leveled yet? Because you can get on the Bastia.
I'm like,
you can level in there.
I'm a really lazy Final Fantasy 14 player. Like, I haven't even leveled another job to level 80. But, I mean, of course, I do have my own excuses for why that has been the case over the last couple of years. But I'm very lazy. If I don't see something and I think, man, I want to do that, I usually just don't do it. You know how long it's a
healthy thing to do.
Yeah. And that's I think that's the another point to make with a lot of the state of Final Fantasy 14 is that people do look at the scope of the game and think, I want to be entertained for 8 hours a day for the rest of my life with this game. And it's not really built to do that. I mean, you guys play it for every day for many hours on end, and you're not even getting 8 hours in the game. You play other games too, because that's kind of what it's meant to do, right?
Hang on, Chief. I don't know about that. I mean,
okay.
I log in and do my fucking dwarf dailies. Do your goddamn dwarf dailies. Okay. Everybody, do your fucking dwarf.
Yeah,
dailies.
those would be a good idea, wouldn't they?
Yeah, it would. Ass. But like, I don't spend like 8 hours a day on the game. I mean, I check on retainers. I check on shit that I sold or will sell or do some crafts and whatnot. It's. I mean, the state of the game has always been play at your own pace, do whatever the fuck you want to do, and then put it down, go do something else, come back.
Yeah,
that's always been. That's always been the pace that Yoshi P set. Hell, even if you want to take a extended break and
take off 6 months, yeah.
You did exactly that, and look at
I did play in the background some. I went through. I wasn't able to after we did the world race for the most recent raid. I wasn't able to go back and do it right afterwards, so I had to wait for about 5 months before I came back. 4 or 5 months before I was able to clear it again.
Right.
So that worked out pretty good with me, to be honest with you. But I still really like the raids and everything and how they designed it. Even going back, I did have a little bit of, I guess, knowledge of the raids, so it wasn't as difficult until I got into Party Finder, which we're going to talk about here in just like less than 30 minutes.
I've done a lot of Party Finder since 5.2 came around. A lot more than I usually do.
Yeah. I just... Anyways, that's next segment. We'll keep on this one.
That's going to be a good segment.
Yeah.
It really is.
I think...
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Fuck people.
Fuck people.
I need you to make that clip and literally prepare it as an intro for the next section in the next 31
just
minutes.
Sly saying fuck people and then we start the show.
Spoiler alert, fuck people, and then that's it. That's the intro.
If I was skilled enough, I would do it. If I was skilled enough to make a clip and figure out the screens in a way. By the way, my screens are completely different. I move them around. I have one down here, and then I have the other one that's just up there with some information. And it's... I'm using a card table here to be a little bit more professional, be able to put my arms up and kind of hang out. You can't see as much on stream, but you two can see it. You can see my whole setup of the green screen and the lights around me, and it's hot.
Yeah. Sure can.
But I wanted to try it out. I thought it would be neat. Other than that, we're talking about Final Fantasy 14 and evolution, and we think it's going in a good direction, and it has been going in a good direction for a while. And you guys think... let's not talk about the relic and what's right in front of us. I mean, what are we going to see with Final Fantasy XIV, like in the next expansion? How are we going to be wowed? Not story-wise, but like just mechanically, like the game. What are they going to introduce and be like, wow, I'm glad I'm still playing this MMO. It's evolving into something that's relevant.
Here's the thing about Final Fantasy XIV and evolving.
Okay.
Put it in quotes. It doesn't. So
I think it does.
It's not okay. So it's not that it doesn't, but what you will see is still everything you've been seeing. You'll just see it in a slightly modified manner. Consistency is key for Final Fantasy XIV, and that's what they've survived on. Okay. Now we'll see how much they carry over, because they've talked about doing a stat squish for 6.0, which could have some interesting ramifications if they actually go through with it. Yeah. We're going to be getting an idea of what a level squish looks like in WoW as just a sample size for another potential thing for us to see down the line. That'll be later this year. We're kind of already seeing it now. And then we need to see how successful things like Bajda or Blue Mage, if they even pursue limited jobs anymore. If not, then, I mean, what we come to know, what we come to expect is the thing we can probably still come to know and expect in 6.0.
Yeah. You kind of remind me of something else that would be interesting to point out, is that Final Fantasy XIV is this whole like carnival of content, this whole like theme park, this crazy massive like Disney World of content to do, and some of it is just like a ride that's just rusted up and still going. It's still someone's operating it. The line's a little bit smaller for it, but it's over there. And that's interesting to think about, is that Final Fantasy XIV does...
Oh, you mean Chocobo Racing?
Maybe. I was hitting at that a little bit. I mean, a little bit more than that would be something like Lords of Verminion, which hasn't really gone too far. I think, I don't know, it's just interesting that they're using Gold Saucer, of course, to be this place for all these little mini games and stuff. But I want to see a Final Fantasy Tactics minigame.
Tactics Alexander.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that is?
I remember that, I think, as an April Fool's joke. Is that right?
Yes.
I don't remember a lot of details about it, but, if Lords of Verminion wasn't like a, real-time strategy kind of thing, but instead you take turns and move the characters and they all have their special stats, and then you're like on a little mini chessboard, that would be way more interesting to me than Lords
play Mahjong. Just play Mahjong instead.
Do you guys still play Mahjong?
No, I never played it.
No. Okay. I played it.
I played a little bit. I played a little bit. I haven't been back since then.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they add Koi Koi one day.
Okay. I don't even know what Koi Koi is.
Never say never. Okay. Never say never.
All right, Sly. You know what? Then never say never. Then we're getting a tackle box.
Yeah, just like a tackle box, that makes sense, because then if we start doing more water stuff, we'll get Blitzball.
Blitzball.
Yeah. Which I expected to happen. No, I mean he asked me for advice in one of my interviews. He was like, "What? How can we implement this?" Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's never gonna happen. They've given up. I feel confident on that.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Just like Eggy Glamour. No, it's gonna. Yeah, it's Eggy Glamour. Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's funny because this game offers so much, and I think that does define the state of Final Fantasy XIV, is that you level up and you have all these main things. But if you're like passionate about, you played Final Fantasy 9 or 8, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go play Triple Triad now. You have all these little things that you can mess around, and that's just what the MMO is. It's a Final Fantasy XIV theme park, and we've had this discussion how many times? I don't know, 1 billion? Yeah,
I think maybe a few less than 1 billion.
A few less, maybe.
A few less, like 1 or 2.
And so I'm guessing, like you said, there is going to be some consistency to that. Is just to open another part of the theme park. Like Star Wars came out, they had a Star Wars part of Disneyland. Now, what are we going to see for the next one?
I thought you were going to say a Star Wars part of Final Fantasy. Like,
no,
what?
No.
I was really confused.
The only part that Star Wars existed in is the opening reel that was made for some of the World First shows. That's as far as it's made it into Final Fantasy XIV, which I had to take those off. Those segments off of YouTube clips or YouTube videos of those, because they don't like using the Star Wars opening theme and soundtrack on YouTube for some reason. I don't know why.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they're like against it. Oh well. Excuse me, had to cough. So I think, let's see, what else about state of Final Fantasy 14? I was trying to think about the future and everything else. I guess we could talk about Final Fantasy 17, which is going to be the next Final Fantasy MMO.
Stop.
No?
Stop. No.
No, you don't think we're going to get to our MMO for Final Fantasy 14? No?
I mean, we've known for a while that Yoshi P is working on something.
Final Fantasy 16.
He's denied that multiple times.
He said there's been no. I think it was less of a denial.
No, he said please stop spreading rumors. I am not.
What he said is I
am not in charge of it.
Mm-hmm. You could say things and make it seem like you're not actually involved with it, but then you are involved with it.
We all know that Yoshi P likes to say things like, "Yeah, no, we haven't canceled it. We're just not sure when we'll do it." So this goes in that mode. He's not in charge of it. He's not a producer or director, but it doesn't mean he's not involved in it. So.
Well,
I mean, the man's on the board.
Yeah, he's a pretty big figurehead for even like PlayStation. He's he was in that. What was the commercial? I think it was PlayStation 5. They showed him in it as well.
Yeah, and he looked so disheveled. He didn't even know he was going to be in it. He's like, oh shit! All right.
So he has a lot more sway than I think he used to, and of course that's because of the success with Final Fantasy 14. So I'd be interested to see what project he is working on, but of course we're not going to know until we're supposed to know.
Hey man, Tokyo Game Show is in a few weeks, and there's been some suspicious uprisings of Final Fantasy 16 themed Twitter accounts that are completely locked and not supposed to be public.
Yeah, I saw those too, and to be honest, that is one of the things that I would be the most excited for, because when Final Fantasy, I think it was 13, when it was starting to come out, they showed 2 clips. One was from 13 and one was from 15. Do you guys remember that?
It was versus 13.
It was versus 13, but then it became 15, right? Or am I wrong?
7 years later, when Nomura said, "Hey, why don't we just make it a musical?" and Square Enix finally went, "Get out, just get out. We're putting somebody else in. You're done. Go finish Kingdom Hearts 3. Just fucking get out. Just go."
It's wonderful. But I mean, that being said, I mean, you could think they go to a musical at the end of Final Fantasy 13's expansions or whatever it was, 2 and 1, and then you have karaoke singing with some of the stars, and they're running around shooting guns and everything.
Go watch the end of World of Final Fantasy, and you'll get everything you want.
Okay.
Go watch the credit sequence. Just Google credit sequence World of Final Fantasy. You can have your karaoke dreams.
Okay. But that being said, I do think that Final Fantasy 16 is something that I'm very excited to see or hear any information about, because I haven't had any information on a new Final Fantasy in forever.
4 years.
It's 4 years, and I feel like I haven't had anything, at least in the main series.
Remake. Come on.
I had that. You had information on that for how long though? When did we receive?
About 3 or 4 years.
No, we were. They hinted that cutscene at the end of Crisis Core, didn't they?
That has nothing to do with
I think it did.
anything.
I think that was enough of a hint. It was enough of a hint.
That hint is for Dirge of Cerberus. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I was wrong. I got it as Final Fantasy 7 remakes coming up at some point. That was part of the discussion forever. Because it was him jumping on the train at the end of Crisis Core. No? Am I? Are
you referring to Genesis being picked up by Deep Ground, or are you referring to the intro of Final Fantasy VII, which is just reminding
the
you
intro of Final Fantasy VII that was redone at the end of Crisis Core?
Yeah, no, that had nothing to do with the remake.
I saw that and I was like, they're probably going
2008.
Yeah, and that's when I was like, oh my god, someday they're going to make a remake for Final Fantasy VII. I already see it in the works.
No. See, Frosty, you're the reason why nobody likes to talk about years on things. It's people like you in the video game industry that makes nobody ever want to talk about years on anything.
I'm happy to be that person. Okay,
good.
But, okay, so anyways, state of Final Fantasy 14. We started talking about 17, which is somewhat in the making, I'm sure. And then 16, which we might see information about. I don't think we're going to see it in Tokyo. We might see it in Tokyo. I
feel like we're going to see it at Tokyo Game Show.
Yeah.
I feel it. I actually think those Twitter accounts are a complete hoax. But,
yeah. Okay.
I don't think those are real. I think somebody just like made them, locked them, and is baiting everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we were talking about the expansion too. Usually around this time, we start seeing hints and stuff for that, but we're on a 6-month delay, aren't we? So.
Yeah. Well, no, we're on a 2-month delay.
Okay.
So there's something really interesting. So 2 years ago, the trademark for Shadowbringers was filed in May, and nobody noticed until September. Now, being 2 months behind, you'd theoretically think that means that it, in July or August they would have filed for the copyright, or it would have been made public. I wonder if they're further behind than we think, or they're like, we're not filing until we're like announcing it, like the day before we announce it. I want that file to come through so people stop figuring it out 4 months before we announce it.
That's kind of risky, but at the same time, it's not really, because I don't know. I mean, somebody could inside the company troll them and mess around with it, and let that information out. But I don't know.
You also not have a job, probably.
I mean, people have done some horrible things. But anyways,
yep.
State of Final Fantasy XIV. We think it's still in a good place after the lull. It's doing great. Everybody was excited with the most recent patch. No one was really upset. Outside, I think a few people were upset about Unreal, but I don't know why. It was just
why.
I've been doing Unreal every week, man. I'm at 200 points out of 600 for that stupid amount. Just to say I did it, dude. Unreal's harder than some Savage fights, man. You ain't seen a mess until you've been into Unreal and done it with pug healers. That's a whole
pug
different
part is
ballgame
what makes
there.
it difficult. Absolutely.
The tuning is actually really.
I don't think it's completely pug. I mean, for first week in particular, it was just half pug. I guess half all of us dumb fucks who don't remember fucking Shiva from.
I don't remember it. I mean, I remember solo tanking it a lot, but I don't remember the details of it.
You can still solo tank it now. It's a lot tougher now. You still do it now.
Yeah, it's still tough. The solo tank. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm happy with the game, and I think hearing from you guys, I'm assuming you guys are very happy. I mean, probably play it more than most people, and so you would know.
I'm definitely happy.
Okay.
You know what the funny thing is? I wasn't going to do the joke until you leaned into it. You really leaned into it.
I didn't even realize it was a joke until you pointed it out, because I just don't. I don't.
Every fucking show.
For some reason, I don't attach the word happy to your name. I understand you are Mr. Happy, but when I say happy, I don't think of the joke as I'm saying it. It just happens. This always happens naturally. And you always take advantage of it. I feel like that's kind of.
Listen. My greatest talent is having no talent. So if I can smile at these moments, then that's all I got. All right.
I'm smiling. I mean, when people say frosty, like that's enough of an abnormal word that you don't have in your daily vocab.
I had a friend whose nickname was Frosty growing up, so I think of him every time I hear your name.
Oh,
you're Frosty too.
As long as he was, his pleasant memories, that's all that matters. Yeah, or at least I replaced it with pleasant memories, maybe too. If it wasn't, hopefully.
Yeah, no, he had frosted tips in his hair throughout all high school, so it's just.
I thought about doing that when I was in middle school. When I was in middle school. I don't think I did. I think I did a few.
You're Frosty Unreal.
Frosty Unreal. That's me.
Frosty Hard Mode. There you
go. Hard Mode is me doing a podcast and not messing or flubbing something up.
For 7 hours.
For 7 hours. It's actually like closer to like, it's between 7 and 8 because I still got to do the closing bit too. But
I know it.
Anyways, we are hitting that point where we need to start wrapping up, and we are going to start prepping for the next segment here with Zeno and Arthas as we talk about surviving Party Finder, which is we left at a very good, we left at a good moment here in the conversation to lead into that. But before we go, I do want to thank you guys both again for being so amazing and helping me throughout the years by being a part of the show and just a good friend. It has meant a lot to me. And if you guys have any closing words you'd like to say, any shout outs to anybody, please go ahead and do those. And we'll start with Mr. Happy, then go to Sly.
No, Sly always goes first.
Okay, Sly, then Happy. Whatever you want to do.
Why?
You know what? It is my show. Mr. Happy, you go first. You go first, Mr. Happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Boom.
Okay. Mr. Happy. No, you gotta go. You gotta go.
Oh, you get to avoid it in the end. Hi, I'm Mr. Happy. You can find me at Mr. Happy 1227 Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. While 14 is kind of fun right now, and I'm enjoying it. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Kingdoms of Amalur, Star Renegade, and Avengers are also quite fun, and I'm playing those too. So check that out.
How's sleep? It's going.
Depends on how much chicken I eat before bed.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Sly, would you like to finish out with your shoutouts?
Sure. Hi. Again, I'm Sly. Again, Frosty, thank you so much for having both of us knuckleheads on. You can find me on twitch.tv/Sly, aka Greyfox, on Twitter at Sly the Fox. Right now, I'm doing the weirdest shit. I never played Dragon's Dogma. I never played Dragon's Dogma, so I'm playing Dragon's Dogma for the first fucking time, and it's actually pretty fucking good. I started Paradise Killer, which is a new murder mystery that just came out yesterday. And it's really fucking fun. Of course, I still do Station WSOY, grooving you through the 70s and 80s of Japan every Saturday night. You can find all my mixes on Patreon, patreon.com/Station WSOY. Some of them are free, so give it a listen. Tell me what you think. On the horizon, I don't know. I just play a lot of fucking games. Star Renegade, sure. Anything else that's probably coming out, I'll probably touch it.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys so much again. It's been a pleasure. And everyone, we will be back here in just a moment, and we will be doing our next segment. But before that, we have about 15 minutes of wonderful community music for you to listen to while we're doing a setup. So hang tight. We'll be back in just a moment. Where's the transition button? Boom. No, it didn't work. Shoot.